Hello lovelies, welcome to my channel. My name is Jade the Green Witch and I help people heal and take back their power. Right, so today is a very interesting topic and it is 5 things to never do in a haunted house, or if you suspect that you have some sort of negative entity trying to possess or attach itself to you. Now, number 1 is never ever do an Ouija board or a spirit board. Now, this gets like mixed, has a lot of mixed opinions, especially in the witch community. But I know from my own experience of living in many haunted houses and doing spirit boards or seances as well, you can never fully trust what you are talking to. Now, demonic entities do exist. So we live in, there's many different dimensions that are very close to our reality. And within these different parallel dimensions, above and below our sort of physical realm, there is many different beings that dwell and live there. Now, within the astral realms and the sort of sub-levels, the more negative realms, there are inhuman negative entities which you can label as demons, demonics. And these entities can cause a whole load of trouble. So they are not to be taken lightly. They are not to be thought of as just, something you see in a horror film. So basically, if you are dabbling with Ouija boards and spirit boards or seances, you can basically, that's given consent to allow a negative entity to now come into your life, to come into your space, because those things are literally a gateway. So they can now come into you and attach itself to you, and now you've created an etheric connection to that entity. So even if you're trying to communicate with, dead grandma, something might come in and pretend to be your dead grandma. Because these entities are extremely cunning. They are really intelligent and they are not to ever be messed with or thought of as something that you can control, because most people cannot control them. And once you do accidentally have something that comes into your life that is demonic, it can cause many, many, many difficult things to go wrong in your life. And it's not like in the movies. It won't be throwing you around the room, even though I do know someone that has experienced that. And I myself has been pulled out of bed a few times. But it's a lot more subtle. It will be sudden bad luck, and I mean severe bad luck. It can be like, it even happen a few months later, it can be a year later, it can be, random, and sometimes it can just come in the form of something that's like a really bad disease, a really bad sickness. It can be a severe bad accident. It can be loads of arguments and negative energy within your family, within your relationship. Like, they dabble and they basically manipulate the energy around you within your life to manifest misery, to manifest pain, suffering, negativity, because that is what they feed off. That is their food. That is the energy that they love to conjure, that they love to be within. So they will do anything they can in their power to manifest things to go wrong into your life. And they can be extremely difficult to get rid of once you have let it in. So do not dabble with a Ouija board. It is not worth it, trust me. Now, the second thing to do, if unfortunately you do know that you have a spirit within your house, or even worse, some inhuman sort of demonic entity, never, ever, ever challenge it. Do not act like some fucking holy exorcist being, "Be gone, demon, foul beast." Like, do not do that. Do never ever challenge it. Like, the best example of this is probably the first Paranormal Activity film, when her boyfriend keeps shouting at this thing. It keeps insulting this, you know, demonic entity that was attached to her family. It keeps trying to challenge it. It keeps trying to, you know, catch it on camera. He treats it like a joke, and he thinks that insulting this entity is shouting at it and is trying to be, you know, conjure it. Because if you're asking for something to show itself, you're conjuring. You're literally helping give energy and power to that entity to conjure itself within your reality. So don't do that. The thing that you have to do is just ignore it and focus on raising your own frequency, your own vibration, and try your best to be cleansing the house all the time. You need to get rid of it. You don't want to be feeding it. You want to be doing everything you can to get rid of it. Okay? And that leads me to the third thing, is never ever ever do occultic practices if you suspect that you have some sort of demonic entity within you or near your space or haunting you, or even other spirits within you, because they can really mess up things they can really mess up your own energy and frequency and vibration. So you're opening doorways. So whenever you are doing occultic practices such as spells or even meditation or, you know, yoga sometimes, like anything that's spiritual and, you know, opening yourself to the astral realms, to other dimensions, to potentially let something in. So it is never a good idea to be doing any sort of spell crafting, to be doing anything apart from any sort of spells that help cleanse negative energy. So the only sort of practices that you need to be doing is praying to God, or praying to Jesus, or praying to Archangel Michael. Anything that helps get rid of negative energy, anything that helps give you that power of a love vibration, that helps eradicate your fear. So anything that's going to help cleanse the environment, help cleanse your space. So keep lighting candles, because light is such a powerful thing. So when you go to bed at night, light a candle. Keep your vibration as high as possible. So do not be dabbling with any occultic practices. Just focus on cleansing the house. Use your sage, you know, cleanse the energy constantly. And eventually you'll push out and you'll make the environments not very attractive for any sort of negative entities to be living within. So it will basically protect you more, and it will surround you with more of a light. So it will make it more and more difficult for whatever negative entity to try and infiltrate you, to try and be able to, you know, manifest negative things within your space, to try and even possess you. So you have to make it as difficult as possible for that entity until eventually it gives up, or you have to rise above it basically. So you cannot really destroy demons. You can learn how to put them back where they came from, or you can get a specialist or an exorcist who knows how to do that, professional. But the best thing that you can do yourself is to just rise above it, so you don't allow them to drag you down into their vibration where they can easily overpower you. So you have to always, this is the demon here, and you have to always stay above it basically. Yes, that leads me to number 4. So basically it links to what I've just been talking about. You have to keep your frequency high. And I just recently done a video, a very long video, on how to raise your vibration, how to raise your frequency. The higher your frequency is, the less power they can have over you. The more difficult it will be for any entity of a lower vibration to be able to affect you, because you need to match their frequency in order for it to overpower you and to consume you. So if you're vibing up here on the frequency of love and light, etc., and you don't have any sort of, you know, gateways within yourself, any sort of negative vibrations for it to be let in, then it will forever be below you, and it'll be very hard for it to try and, you know, be able to manipulate and manifest negative things. So you must do the work. This is so important. Like me myself, like I've experienced a lot of trouble with negative entities my entire life, and If I didn't learn how to raise my own frequency, I probably would have ended up, you know, completely consumed by them and down a very, very dark path, which I was heading down, because they'll put negative thoughts in your brain. They can make you go mad. Like, there's a lot that they can do, and I will be talking more about this in the future, the effects and the symptoms. You need to really take this seriously, and even if you don't have an haunted house or any signs of any entities, you should be doing this anyway as a barrier or protection, so nothing can affect you anyway, just in case you do accidentally, you know, come across someone that does have a negative thing attached to them, or if someone tries to attack you or curse you, or if you accidentally stay in a haunted hotel or whatever, and something, you know, follows you home. You know, these things are very real, and they're not spoken of enough in the New Age movement. And this is why I don't like to put myself in the same box as these spiritual New Age people, because it's negative. So they just pretend like demons don't exist, but they do. And it doesn't mean that you're in fear, because to face something, to actually know that something that scary is real, but you still overpower them, and you still were, you know, able to face that and accept it and do the work to actually raise your frequency, that makes you fucking strong. That makes you brave. It takes a lot more bravery to actually face the darkness instead of run away from it and just be delusional and pretend like nothing bloody exists. Like, wake up and smell the coffee, okay? It just makes me laugh, because, and it's not placebo, it's not like, oh, if you believe in demons, you're gonna manifest them. No, because I myself and other people that I've met in my path, like, I used to see spirits literally from a baby. My first word was GAAP, which is actually one of the Solomon demons, the prince demon that has legion over like 66 demons apparently. GAAP. So I used to say that was my first word as a baby, and I used to literally point at it from my little cot, always in the corner, pointing at it, saying GAAP, GAAP to my family, and for ages, and they were all, you know, and they were freaked out all the time, and they were having poltergeist activity. And this was like, you know, in the early 90s. There was no paranormal films back then, and my family were not into the occult or anything like that whatsoever. Like, my mum and my dad back then, when they were still together, so they didn't have a clue what was going on, and they just, you know, had to sort of deal with all this crazy shit. But because they didn't know how to keep their frequency high, they went through hell because of it. They just allowed it in, and they allowed these entities to massively, you know, mess up a lot of things, unfortunately. So accept that they're real, do the work, raise your frequency, and you'll be strong enough to fight them off. Last one is don't fear them. So obviously this should be well known that a demon and a negative entity feeds off your fear. That's their food. So if you do your best to stay in the high vibration, so you keep your frequency high, you'll naturally be in a more loving state. You'll naturally be on the more loving vibration. Because if you are in a negative vibration, if you fear them and you're scared of them, and you do things that resonate on the frequency of fear, then of course you're just giving them more power. You're just reinforcing them to be able to take over you. So you have to do all that you can to just keep on that high vibration, because if you have them within your home, they can cause arguments between families, they can cause arguments between lovers, if you live with your partner, etc. So they know what triggers you. This is why it's so important to have a pure heart and to not have any addictions or triggers or traumas, because they will use that as a weapon against you. So this is why it's imperative that you do the work to raise your vibration, to raise your frequency, so you don't have any weakness. You basically don't have a kryptonite. You know, Superman's only, you know, weakness was kryptonite. If someone got kryptonite, they could kill him. So someone's addiction can be their kryptonite. Someone's past childhood trauma could be their kryptonite. So you have to really, really be honest with yourself and self-analyze and really focus and be disciplined. And because if you don't raise your frequency, you'll never be able to get on that vibration of love. And it's only once you're on that high vibration of love, you can then easily overpower any negative entities, and they will not be able to nearly affect you as much as, you know, they would be if you're on a low vibration. And you can even have the power to just completely banish them entirely. So I hope this video helps you and has given you a bit of information on what not to do when you have a haunted house. And I will be talking a lot more about this, and I have many more stories to share. I hope this inspires you. Lots of love and light. Ahimsa.